Joining us is economist and public affairs analyst Mayokun Ilu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for having me.
Issues of transparency, accountability, audit when it comes to public finance has been on the front burner for years in the country, and we have come up with different ways to tackle this. We talk about the TSA, talk about the IPPIS and the likes. But then when you want to evaluate the performances so far, talk to us about how we have fared in trying to ensure transparency when it comes to public finance management.
Well, let me say the president is very much on point on this one by saying that ineffective audit has largely contributed to our issues in terms of implementing public policy and spending public funds. But the legs on which the argument rests include some other things. For me, it begins with policy.
All right.
You have to look at your policy, you look at your budgeting, planning network, the implementation, the external audit, which includes legislators and civil society, the accounting aspects of it, and some other things. So audit is just one side of about 6, but all included, if we take seriously the mandate that we have been given as public officers, then we will do more. Because if there is no transparency, there is no accountability. They are correlated. And people don't want accountability because they feel they need the lacuna, they want a leeway, either for corrupt practices or to do things not in line with what they have told you they would do. Normally, if you are going into public office or you have a public trust in your hand, it is essential that there should be checks and balances. When those things are lacking, definitely things will begin to go wrong. People don't take issues of public funds with the seriousness it deserves. Maybe for short-termism in their thinking, because when you hold resources that belongs to the people, for every 1 million or 2 million naira diverted away from the actual use, some children are going to suffer for it.
Absolutely.
Health, education, security, we are all paying the price for those things now. So, like the president said, even auditors, you know, I blame them in one part, but on the other part, I will look at it that, you know, in accounting, for instance, there are what you call source documents. If you are not given access to some primary documents, you cannot make a judgment as to how maybe a ministry, a department, or an organization has been run. Even in advanced economies, you have issues with the KPMGs of this world, with Deloitte and the rest of them occasionally. So I think if the president wants to push this a bit further than telling them to their faces, we should draft policies and make sure that they are implemented even to the letter.
What kind of policies will drive these issues of transparency?
I give you an example. In the last 5 years, I have not seen an accounting firm or an accountant that has maybe ACCA qualification or an ICANN qualification being charged to court and convicted on the basis of something he or she has signed. There are many public organizations in Nigeria, even private ones. By the time you put your signature to a document that, okay, I have audited this particular company, and I have found out that, okay, their account is as they claim it is, I looked at it, no money is missing. By the end of the day, if you find out that money is missing, then you should have some accounting to do too. Okay, you have signed this, then you should go to jail. It's like on an operating theater, a doctor who doesn't have the qualifications he claims he has performs a misnomer on the operating table and somebody dies for it. Somebody has to take responsibility. Yeah. So these are little things you can put checks and balances that, okay, take responsibility. As long as you don't take responsibility, and people will have things they can do and get away with those things.
Mayokun Ilu, we'll leave it here at this time. Thank you for speaking with us.
You're welcome.
Now, joining us is economist and public affairs analyst Mayokun Ilu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for having me.
Auditors are the champions of fighting against corruption. That is what the president talked about in his statement, like we have reported. But when you look at how the ratings of Transparency International placed Nigeria were dropped, Would you say that they have been effective in their work, or what really could be hampering their efforts?
Well, I would say they, like the president said, they have been largely ineffective. They are not alone, because I would not want to put the blame squarely at their feet, but they should take a bulk, some sizable measure of the blame for where we found ourselves. You know, we have this plethora of organizations and associations in the country that claim to do one thing or the other, all towards the goal of making our country a better place. One of it is the Auditing Association. We have ICANN, we have ACCA, we have people in public sector, APPA, and the rest of it. But at the end of the day, the country is not going in the desired direction. So like Mr. President said, the auditors should take their own part of the blame. Having said that, can we look at solutions? Now that we are here, the audit profession, how can they put the tools of their trade at the disposal of government? I would like to see audit built into the budget cycle. We shouldn't wait for...
How so?
We shouldn't wait for a budget maybe from ministry, department, or agencies to have been expended. Then once in 10 years, like in the case of NDDC, somebody wakes up and says, okay, go and audit that particular department or agency. It should be part of their cycle. The same way we expect from corporate players that, okay, after every financial year, you are audited.
So the inconsistencies is affecting us? It's
affecting us to a large extent. If Mr. President rolls out a policy, gazette it, for instance, that, okay, every agency, maybe by March, they should synchronize their timetables. By March, the last financial year must be audited by a top-ranking audit firm.
How will
and make it public.
How will this ensure transparency?
Because audit ensures transparency. If you know that you are going to be asked about why you spend funds in a certain way, the time you got the funds, what was it expended on? I tell you what some people do. Maybe they are not doing it in this administration. They take funds from Ministry of Finance that is supposed to be spent on maybe payroll or some other projects. They take the funds and put it in a fixed deposit.
To accrue.
To accrue. At the end of the day, they take the interest for their own personal use. I think this administration has tried to a large extent to stop that. So there are other sharp practices. If we bring in audits as at when due, and you hold auditors accountable for whatever it is they pass as having met the required procedures, then things will be a better for
Mayor Okunyilu, let's leave it here now. Thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Well, joining us is economist and public affairs analyst, Mayor Okunyilu. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so President Buhari was calling on auditors to, telling them they are essential in the fight against corruption. How can this happen?
Well, it's for them to abide by the code of ethics to which they have subscribed. It's like when you're a doctor, they tell you do no evil. If you're an auditor, then truth must be sacrosanct. You can't see black and call it white. And beyond the rhetorics, there has to be sanctions. There has to be consequences for actions. If you audit maybe the account of a company, a ministry, department, or agency, and you certify it based on the knowledge that you have and the training that you have undergone, you must be willing to stand behind the things you have audited.
Is that in itself enough to ensure transparency and accountability? How about legislations? Well,
they are all involved. Legislation too has its role. Civil society, they have their role in this. Then there's this African peer review mechanism, because we don't operate a country in a silo. That's where the issue of Transparency International, I'm not all in favor of however they have gone about their duty, but they use indicators for crying out loud. They have performance metrics to which they use, okay, if this country scores 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, this is how we classify it.
So what kind of legislations are we looking at now?
We are looking at legislation that will make it, for instance, an offense for an auditor to sign a document after auditing an account when he knows that there are factual errors in the documentation leading to his assessment. If you are in doubt, it's like a lawyer taking up a case. If he doesn't believe in the case, he can tell you, I cannot take up this case because I'm involved or because of one thing or the other. But if he decides to take the case, he has to go the whole hog. That has to be put into our legislation. We have so many things we can learn. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel here. There are things that we can learn from even other African countries, even before you go into Western nations. There are ways they do their audit. The way we do, we were discussing earlier, the way we do budgets here is not the way budgets are done. We make too much noise about the budget proposal itself. Meanwhile, the audit, the checks, the things that go into budget preparation and execution and audit at the end of the day, we are largely silent about them. These are the issues with the country.
All right. Thank you very much, Mayor Koyelo, for talking to us.
You're welcome.